Takadosh Boker Or. Daf Yomi Masechet Sanhedrin Daf Zayin Amud Aleph 781. We were talking about right now as follows. The Gemara is talking about that there was a mitzvah. What does that mean? You remember that we said there was a mitzvah to do pshara. So he said, what does it mean now, the mitzvah? So he says, what does it mean, the mitzvah? So he comes and he says, it's either going to be mitzvah lememra lehu. It's a mitzvah to tell them, I dina baitu pshara baitu. Do you want the din or do you want a pshara? Right? What does that mean? Do you want like a judgment or do you want the compromise? Okay. So says the Gemara, one second, but that's Hainu Tanakama. Because Tanakama says that it's a reshut to do pshara. So if you say that the mitzvah is only just to tell them whether you want to do din or compromise, so then that's Tanakama. So he says, no, ikabenayu mitzvah. Rabbi Yoshua ben Korcha holds that it's a mitzvah, meaning it's a mitzvah to ask, do you want to do compromise or do you want to do the din? And the Tanakama holds that it's a reshut to ask, meaning there's no mitzvah involved. So says the Gemara, fine, so then that's some Shimon ben Asiyah then. Because he said that two people that come to the judgment, you're allowed to tell them, go and do a compromise. So it's a reshut. You're allowed to tell, go do compromise. But he says, the difference between them is, if you remember, we said according to the Tanakama, even when he heard everything, he's still allowed to tell them, go make a compromise, right? Until the Gmardin. But according to Rabbi Shimon ben Asiyah, the second that you heard both testimonies and you know where it's going, you're not allowed to do that anymore. Okay? Fine. Upliga de Rabbi Tanchum bar Chanilai. And this argues on Rabbi Tanchum bar Chanilai. Why? He says, Damar Rabbi Tanchum bar Chanilai, lo ne'emar mikra ze, this pasuk of Botzea berech nietz Hashem, ela kenege ma'aseh ha'egel. It's to do with ma'aseh ha'egel. Shneimar, but it says in the pasuk, Vayara Haron vayiven mizbeach lefanav. Aaron saw and they built a mizbeach in front of him. Mara, what did he see exactly? Amar Binyamin bar Efet, Amar Rabbi Elazar, says Binyamin bar Efet, name Rabbi Elazar, Ra'ah Chur shezavuach lefanav. He saw Chur. Chur was his nephew, the son of Miriam. And he saw that he was shachut lefanav. Amar, he said, Im lo shamana lehu hashta. If I didn't hear now, if I'm not going to listen to them, they're going to do to me like they did to Chur. They're going to kill me as well. Umikayem bi, and then they're going to come and be mikayem the pasuk. Im yehareg b'migdash Hashem kohen v'navi. That they're going to kill in the Migdash Hashem a kohen and a navi. So therefore, in order not to have this problem, right, this is what we're going to do. So fine. The second that they're going to do such a thing, there's not going to be a takana. So he says, mutav de le'avdu le'egel, right? He says it's better that they should come and they should do the egel because at least they could do a teshuvah. Meaning it's worse to do an avodah zarah than to kill a kohen v'navi bebet hamikdash. And that's exactly what happened. Yes. Sorry, what did I say? I said the opposite. Yeah. It's better to do avodah. He said, why? Avodah zarah, they could do teshuvah. So he said they're going to kill a kohen, but there's nothing. That's it. Let leu takanta. Some powerful words. Yeah? They're not going to have a takana le'olam. Here it says, because at the end of the day, that's what they did. They killed Zechariah ben Yehoyada, that he was a Kohen and Navi in the Bet HaMikdash, and the Bet HaMikdash was destroyed. So because of that, he's saying that it's actually much better that they would have done the Egel, and that's what Aaron HaKohen did at Cheshbon. Aaron HaKohen did at Cheshbon. It's much better to do the Egel, because at least that way they can do Teshuvah. If they're going to come, they're going to kill me, that there's not going to be Teshuvah. That's a very good question. I do not know. I do not know. Meaning if a person has a choice, if he's already doing one of them, which one to do? Either one or number three. It's a very good question. Yeah, what? No, Yareg Val Yavor, but they're both Yareg Val Yavor. There's Retzach and there's Avodah Zarah. They're both Yareg Val Yavor. So what he's asking is, which one is stronger? Behani Tanai, and these Tanaim, whether it's going to be Tanakama and Rabbi Yoshua ben Korha, right? That they don't hold of Rabbi Shimon ben Asiyah, and according to them, they're permitted or it's a mitzvah to do pshara. Poter Maim Reshit Madon Maidal Shibe. What do you do with the pasuk of Poter Maim Reshit Madon? You remember that we brought this pasuk to say that you could pour water. When you pour water, you calm people down. right? I remember on Purim, right? When they came in, they start throwing things. Throw water, you calm people down. So what happens, right? Poter maim reshimadon. That's only at the beginning of the fight. You remember the beginning of the quarrel. So he says over here, Kedar Rav Hamnuna. Answers the Gemara, this is like Rav Hamnuna. Tavar Rav Hamnuna says Rav Hamnuna, En tchilat dino shel adam nidon el divrei Torah. The deen of the human being is always going to be if the beginning with divrei Torah. Shneimar poter maim reshimadon, which means the poteret atzmo mi limud Torah, which is nimshela lamayim. So therefore, the shimadon, that's going to be the beginning of judgment in the world to come. So the first thing that they're going to ask him is, what about divrei Torah? So that's this explanation. It's not that simple because the Tosafot is already going to ask the obvious question that in the Gemara, Masechet Shabbat, it's written, Asata v'natata bemunah. And only afterwards was Asakta b'divrei Torah, which means the first question is, were you truthful in business? Right? And then it's going to be Kavat v'divrei Torah. So it's not exactly this order, right? Tosafot asked this question already. And again, it's here he wants to come and he wants to answer. It's talking about over there, Shosek Torah, but it's not Kovei Haitim la Torah. Here it's talking about that somebody that's not learning Torah at all. So for the first thing is that he didn't learn Torah at all, right? That means there he learned Torah, but just it wasn't kovei itim. So okay. So then it's not. So again, that's why he's saying kavata itim la Torah. Here it said he wasn't learning at all. Another explanation. Amar Ravuna says, "Hai tigra damya letzinora debitka demaya." A meriva is compared to a small opening of water, right? That starts coming out. Kevan de ravach. The second that it starts becoming wider, it widens. Meaning, at the beginning, it starts like a little argument. It starts like no, and all of a sudden, boom, it becomes World War III. Yeah, all of a sudden it becomes a huge thing. Right, but at the beginning, very, very small, very small. Right? Another mashal. Abaye kashisha amar Abaye zaken comes and he says, "Damul guda de gamla kevin de kam de kam." It's compared to a keresh, which is a guda, which is kavua in a gesher of etz. That he says, which is on top of the river, that the second that it's going to be the kam. What does that mean? The second that it's going to come, and it's going to, he says over here, the second that it starts, it's mitchazek, it doesn't move. So too, the second that a person comes in marbebek tata, it becomes stronger and stronger. I mean, at the beginning, sometimes you don't even realize it starts from such a shtut, but all of a sudden it just becomes worse and worse, and then each one becomes like a tit for tat, and then each one becomes worse, and it continues becoming. It's a problem. Fine. Next, shin mem ain. Yeah, shin tet yod sheva zima. Okay, there's a siman here. So let's start. Okay, this is the siman. Okay, and the thing in the bottom it says there's a shim'i, there's vashti, there's a whole thing here. Okay, fine, let's go. Ha'u de'ava kamar v'azil. There was a person that he came, right, and he was saying, Tuve de shama va'adish. Fortunate is the person that he listens to his cherpa and he keeps quiet. And he's accustomed to doing so. And unfortunate is the person that mamash that that they come, they listen, and they keep quiet. He doesn't answer. Yeah. So he says, Chalfua bishtamea, right? Because of his shtika, 100 bad things went away from him. Meaning, if he would have come and he would have answered them, so imagine how many bad things would come about of it. So because he kept quiet and he didn't answer, he's got tons of things, right? Of brachot and everything that's going to come to him. So he says, Elmaleh Shmuel Rav Yehuda, says Shmuel to Rav Yehuda, Kraktiv, it's a pasuk. The pasuk says, Poter ma'im reshimadon. What does that mean? When a person is going to come and he's going to start the ktata, he's going to start, which is the Poter ma'im, so it's reshimadon. Resh me'a dineh. Reshimadon is like an acronym, that it's me'a dinim, meaning 100 bad things which are going to come. So therefore, when a person is going to come, here he says also madon is a gematria of 100, which is like 100 dinim. So he says, right, that it's 100 bad things are going to stay away from him. Okay, another memra, yeah, he comes and he says another memra. He says is as follows. Yeah, we're going to have to expand. Yeah, you want to just ask him to bring another table, please. Thank you. Right, another one he comes and he says is hahu dahava kamar va'azil. Another person used to come and used to say, yeah, atarte tlat ganava lo miktil. On 2 or 3 times, the ganav is not going to be killed. Meaning, if a person did an avirah 2 or 3 times and he's not going to be punished, don't be worried about it. Why? Because he, on 2 or 3 times they don't get punished yet. Okay, so Elmaleh Shmuel Rav Yehuda says Shmuel to Rav Yehuda. Karaktiv, it's a pasuk. The pasuk says, Ko amar Hashem. This is what Hashem says. Al shlosha pish'ei Yisrael, ve'al arba'a lo hashivenu. on 3 times, right? On 3 pshayim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu still marichaf. But then on the 4th time, that's when he's not going to be muchel. On the 4th time, he's not going to be muchel. On the first 3, he is. Yeah, so therefore, if you see somebody that didn't get punished for the first 3 or 4, don't worry about it. Why? Because at the end of the day, it's still here. Okay? Fine. Says the Gemara, another memra, third one. Ahu dava kamar va'azil. So who dava kamar vazil? So somebody would used to say shev bedel shalmana, right? V'chada lavid bish. Even if you have 7 pits which are going to be dug, right, for the legs of people which are ish shalom, he's going to. That means the person that's an ish shalom is going to be safe from everybody, right? But if somebody does bad, even 1 pit he's going to fall in. Meaning you could have a guy that has in front of him 7 different stumbling blocks, 7 pits, right? An ish shalom will be safe from all 7. But a person that's also an ishra, right? That means oser ra. So what's going to happen? Even 1 pit, and he's going to stumble upon it. Amar Shmuel Rav Yudah, and Shmuel says, "Kraktiv." It's a pasuk. Ki sheva yipol tzadik vekam. Right? The pasuk says that the tzaddik will fall kilu 7 times, but he's going to get up. So he comes and he says, "Okay, now we take out the vrasha yipol ba'achat." Right? But he comes and he says, right? Even though it says u'shayim yikashlu bera'ah. Okay, fine. Next, Hahu dava kamar vazil. Somebody said, "De azil mi bedina shakal glima lizmar zemer veleizel barucha." Somebody that comes from Bedin, right? And they went and they took his talit in order to pay back on debt. So he has to be singing and going home. Why? He has to be happy because he didn't lose anything because they took the gezelah from him. So Amar Shmuel Rav Yudah, says Shmuel to Rav Yudah, kraktiv, it's a pasuk. Vegam kol ha'am hazeh al mekomo yavo v'shalom. What does that mean? It's mashma kol ha'am. That means somebody that's going to be zakai or chayav. Al mekomo yavo v'shalom. Now he's going to go in peace because he's getting out of all of these problems. So again, all of these are just different, memrot about not getting into fights. Okay, obviously it's there. I remember there was a person that called me up once, and he was basically he wanted me to put pressure on a guy to pay him back money. So I went and I said, I don't understand what's the problem. I said, if you have a problem, because it was a whole thing that he was like the middleman, and so I went and I told him, no, I think you should go to Bedin. What? Bedin? I'll never go to Bedin. So I went and I told him, I don't understand you. I said, you want to come and you want to force somebody to pay you money, which could be that Bemet is not obligated to pay you. So that means you're willing to come and to steal. Afterwards, if you're doing that, right, you have to come back as a Gilgul. And you're doing all this because you just don't want to go to Bedin. I said, you have a doubt, go to Bedin. If you come out Zakai and he has to pay you, so by all means, bechavod. But if you come out Chayav, that's it. I said, what does that mean? If you lose what? You're still going to force the guy to pay you? You understand me? It's like a hasidut of shtut that they don't even understand what they're doing. So a person always has to be very, very careful, right, with all their actions. Right? The 5th thing. Haudava kamar vazil, ki naima vedikula shafil. He says, what does that mean? Right? It's going to be like dozing off, and the what's it called? The basket which is on the head is going to fall down, which means that they used to come and they used to have that a woman would put on top of her head, right? The plach, right? This is what she used to use for the weaving, right? And she used to put the basket on top of her head. So when she was dozing off, obviously the basket will fall off, right? Which means that keilu, that if she's not working, right, and if she's dozing off, obviously, it's going to happen. So Amar le Shmuel Rav Yehuda, kraktiv, it's a pasuk that says such a pasuk, batzaltai mimacham kareh, right? Ushifluti yadai midlef abayit. What does that mean? When a person is mitatzel and he's not going to fix something in the house, so therefore the entire roof, meaning the guy's going to be lazy. Okay, so a few drops in the roof, and then the entire roof just comes in and caves in. Okay, so again, that was the 5th thing. 6th thing, somebody came and he said, Gavra dirchitzna alei ad yelexize vekam. A person that I was somech on him and I was batuach, right? He come and he put his punches against me, right? And he went against me. So he says, Elmaleh Shmuel Rav Yudah. Shmuel says to Rav Yudah, it's a pasuk. Kam ish shelomi asher batachti bo. Even a person that I came and then I had bitachon bo, ochel lachmi igdil alai akev. He went against me. What does that mean? Never put your imun in a human being, because they're going to come. They're going to go against you one day or another. It only takes time. Right, I've seen this mamash. It only takes time. They'll go against you. Don't ever think that you're immune. Right, at the end of the day, it's going to happen. Hahu dava kamar vazil. Somebody came and he said, "Kirichimtin ava aziza Aputia de safside shechivan. He says, when the ahava is going to be so azah, so strong, right, between him, the husband and the wife, right, they come and they're even able to lie down on a cherev chada, meaning on something so thin, because there's so much love. So mamash, they could lie down on nothing. Yeah, so he says, right, he comes and he says, hashtaduro aziza rechintam, but if you don't have, right, a lot of love, huria barshitin garmidu, not even if you're going to have a California king, it's going to help. Yeah, you're going to need mamash. It's not going to help nothing, right? He says, Amar Ravuna, Ravuna says, it's a pasuk also, correct? מעיקר הכתיב צוויתי ונועדתי לך שם, ודיברתי איתך מעל הכפורת. I'm going to speak to you from הכפורת. ותניא ארון תשעה וכפורת טפח. He says the כפורת is only one טפח. הרי כאן 10, so it's going to be 10 טפחים. וכתיב ונצוויתם בבית אשר בנה המלך שלמה להשם 60 אמה אורכו ו20 אמה רוחבו, 60 אמה קומתו. It's going to be 60 by 20 by 30. ולבסוף כתיב ונצוויתם כל מה שבשמיים כיסי ועל הצד רגלי, איזה בית אשר תבנו לי. Which means, where am I going to rest? So at the beginning, when there was ahava, it was such an ava azah between Knesset Yisrael and Kadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu put himself mamash inside of mamash a little tefach out of the entire big huge Bet Hamikdash, mamash a little tiny tefach. But afterwards, all of a sudden he comes and he says, "The shamayim adom raglav." Between the distance between shamayim va'aretz, that's going to be the distance here. So my mashvadai lo taguru, says the Gemara. We're going back now to what we mentioned above in Daf Vav Bet. If you remember, we said lo taguru mipinei ish means, right, don't bring your words in because of a person. Don't be afraid if you have to actually, for the bedim, for the dayanim, or whatever it is. So he says, how do you know lo taguru lishna de kanushehu? How do you know that this is lo taguru means that you have to go in? That means don't go into his words. So Rav Nachman says, says in a pasuk, right, vayayin lo tishte velo te'egor, which means don't bring into your house. Te'egor is achnasa, to bring inside. So when it says the word of te'egor and taguru, zeutodovar, which means bringing in. Okay, so he comes and he says that's to bring in. So Rav Acha bar Yaakov Amar Me'achad, Rav Acha bar Yaakov says no, there's another pasuk. It says tachin b'kaitz lachma ogra b'katzir ma'achala. What does it mean? During the time of the katzir, you're bringing in the food, right, inside of the hole. We're talking about now the ants, I think. Lishmor otam for the Yemot HaGeshmi. Magra is bringing it in. So there's another pasuk to do with the nemala that you're bringing it in for the winter time, so it doesn't get ruined. So again, agra is te'egor or taguru. It's all the same lashon of bringing inside. Rav Acha bar Davaika Amar Me'achad, another pasuk. Ogar b'kaitz ben maskil. We're talking about over there that ben maskil in his chacham, he brings in the kites in the summertime all the wheat in order that it shouldn't get ruined, right, and that he's able to eat during the winter time. Another Gemarot. Amat mamon yirah siman. Another simanim. Okay, mnemonic. Amar Shmuel ben Nachman Yonatan. Kol dayan shedanim yedin imel betom asher shechina b'Yisrael. Any dayan that's going to be done din lamito is going to be masher shechina nisa shlema b'zeh pasuk. Elohim nitzav b'tal b'kelvim mishpot. V'chol dayan she'eno danim imel. If he's not going to be done, sorry. Din emel lamito. Gorem shechina shetetzelek b'Yisrael. He's going to do the exact opposite. He's going to cause the shechina to go away from Yisrael. Shlema b'zeh pasuk. Mishod danim katav yonim ata akum yom Hashem. Right, he says over here that over there it's talking about because of the shod that they're going to be stealing. That's a shod shodadim, and because of the screaming of the people that they're yonim, that they're screaming to Hashem, ata akum. Now he's going to get up and he's going to go away from Am Yisrael. And also Shmuel ben Nachmani comes and he says, if a dayan comes and he takes money from one person, he gives it to somebody else, shelo kadin, Kadosh Baruch Hu will take it from him, from the dayan, nafsho, his neshama. Shneimar b'zeh pasuk al tigzal dal ki dalhu. Do not steal from a poor person because he's poor. Ve'al tedaka ani b'shar, and don't come and cause afflicting wounds to the ani in the shar. Ki Hashem yariv yom b'zeh, Hashem will come and he will pay them back. Right? Ve'kavah et kol ve'em nafesh, and he's going to pay them back with their nefesh. So therefore, obviously, a person has to be very, very careful. The third saying, Amar Shmuel ben Nachmani Amar Rabbi Yonatan, le'olam yireh dayan atzmo kilu cher munacha lo ben yerchotav ve'geniyam petucha lo mitachtav. A dayan. So even though I heard this also to do with the Rav, the same thing, but the Yan always has to see himself as if that he always has a cherev munacha ben yorchotav, that he's always got a knife which is between his thighs, and therefore he comes and he says, and Geinam is opened up in front of him. Okay, here it says munach al tzavaro, meaning on his neck. Right, what was why ben yorchotav. And again, you have Geinam, which is going to be opened up in front of him in order to be punished immediately. Zainam ubet, right? 7b. Shneimar b'says pasuk. Hine. מיתתו של איש שלמה ששים גבולי סתיו יבן גבולי ישראל כולם מחוץ לכם ולמנחה וישחל בו ללכו מפחה בללו, which means שלמה המלך הנשיר השנים is coming and he's telling to HaKadosh Baruch Hu Mitato, which is the Bet HaMikdash, is the Makom HaShechina, which that's where the Sanhedrin used to sit in Lishkat HaGazit. There you used to have the Giborim, the Talmidei Chachamim, which were Melumedei Milchama. Which Milchama? Not the physical war. Milchamta Shel Torah. And it's Ki'ilu Sheish Charbol Yerecho, that they have their swords in between the Yerechayim, Mipachta Shel Geinam, Shedome Lelayla. From the Pachad of Geinam, which is compared to the nighttime. Darash Rav Yoshia, V'yitem Rav Nachman B'Yitzchak. Rav Yoshia came in, he expounded, and some people said Rav Nachman B'Yitzchak. What did was in pasuk? Bet David Ko Aman Hashem Dino LeBoker Mishpat Ve'atzilu Gazul Yadoshek. That you have the deen of the boker is in the mishpat. Ve'atzilu Gazul Yadoshek, and he's going to save the Gazul from the Oshek. Riba Boker Danim V'chol Yom Danim. He says what? Only the boker we're going to judge, and not the entire day. Ela Im Baru Lecha Davar Kaboker. If it's going to be clear to you, like the morning, Amrehu, say it. V'im lav, and if not, Al Tomrehu. What does that mean? Some people, the Rav Chida brings this down when he speaks about Kiloriyot La'inayim. He says some people, they think, right, that the rabbi is a machine. So therefore, they're going to ask, and they want him to answer right away. And the answer is, you never answer. Why? If you have it Barur Kashemesh, then you could answer. If it's not Barur Kashemesh, you don't answer. Yeah, that's the way it is. Exactly. Yes. Yeah, there's no mitzvah to answer immediately. Some people think that, if you don't answer immediately, it means that you're not good at rabbi. The opposite. If you answer too quickly, sometimes it doesn't show. It shows the exact opposite. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So he says it has to be barur lecha davar kaboker. If it's barur, then fine. If not, you have to look it up. Yeah, and that's why the Rav Chida says kilorei means that it's always good to see it inside. But when you see something inside, many times you'll remember a detail or you'll remember something that maybe you wouldn't have said. And now when you look it up again, you're going to say it. Rabbi Baraba says the name of Yonatan Mehacha. It's another pasuk. Emor la chochma ahotiat. You remember we said this in Kiddushin. Daf Lamed. Baru lecha davar kachotecha sheyasura lecha omrehu ve'im lav al tomrehu. If it's going to be baru lecha, meaning 100% clear to you that it's like your sister, meaning everybody knows that your sister is permitted to you. It's called incest. So therefore, if it's going to be like that, so then say it, and if not, don't say it. Huh? Permitted. Sorry, forbidden. Yeah, forbidden. Okay, fine. Yeah, Amar Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. Says Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, Asara shiyoshvin badin kaolar talui b'tzava kulan. He says if you have right now, right, 10 people that are sitting in the din. Okay, if they didn't come and they didn't judge it favorably, kolar talui b'tzava kulan. It's on all of them, meaning all of them are going to be punished. Okay. Meaning it's going to be on all the 10. So says Ibn Pshita, obviously. Why wouldn't you say that? He says, no, we're talking about that he came in front of his rabbi. And he sees that the rabbi made a mistake. So if he's going to keep quiet, it's going to be a problem. He's going to be punished. So therefore he has to go, obviously, on the side and tell his rabbi, by the way, this, whatever it is. And therefore he's going to be saved from the punishment. So Ravuna, when he had the judgment in front of him, he used to bring 10 Talmidim to the Bet HaMikdash. He says, he says that it should be only a chaticha ktana from the Korah Gdolah, which means that if we're going to come and we're going to make a mistake, at least it's going to be divided by 10. Yeah? Kilu, it's going to be divided by 10. And therefore it's not going to be that bad. Rashi says that it's the opposite. It's that the more people that you have, the less a mistake that you're going to make. Right? Meaning that the more people that you have, why? Because not everybody are going to go. And by the way, that's why many times they always used to have that the Katan would answer first, not the Gadol. Meaning, for example, let's say you have the Av Bedin and you have all the Dayanim. And now they're going to judge the case. And now they want to come and they want to speak about it, right? And then they're going to make the judgment. If you have the Gadol speak first, nobody's going to challenge him. So therefore, you always have everybody else answer. And only after everybody else answers, then it's going to be the Gadol. Because if not, then there's no joke. That's it. So the more people, the better that it is, that they're going to make sure that they're not going to make a mistake. Okay, Ravashi also kiava at trefata lekamim. When he used to have a trefa coming in, trefot coming in front of him, machnim maitile lekule tabach demat mechasya. He used to bring all the shochatim in the city of Ir Mechasya, right? V'amar, and he said, Yehecha delimtian shiba mikashura. Right, we're talking about now that it's going to be only ksat, right? A little bit of the charayut if a person is going to make this mistake. So Kiyata Rav Dimi, so Rav Dimi came, Amar, he said, the Rav Nachman bar Kohen. Rav Nachman bar Kohen came and he made it the Rasha. My dichti was the pasuk Melech b'mishpat yamid aretz. What does it mean that a king, Melech b'mishpat yamid aretz ve'ish trumot yersena im dayan domeh lemelech sheno tzarich leklum. Right, that the pshat is if the dayan is going to be compared to a king that he doesn't need anything. So he has to be maleh and chokhmah and everything in baki. He's going to be like a melech, which is ashir. So too, the dayan has to be ashir bechokhmah, and then it's going to be melech b'mishpat. Yamidaret. Then he's going to be mekayem dalacha. But if he's going to be compared to a kohen that's going around, which means that he's like an ani, that means yes, he starts after asking everybody else. That means he's an ani, but Torah yerisena. So then he's going to ruin everything. Because at the end of the day, that's what's happening. The Benesia ukmu dayana de lova gamir. So Benesia, they used to come, they used to put dayanim, which they weren't fully learned. Amrule li Yehuda bar Nachmani. So they went and they told them, Yehuda bar Nachmani to Gvened Shakish to Gvened Shakish kumale bamura. Go on that dayan and see exactly what's going on. Kam gachina lev v'lo amalev l'mudis. So he went, he got up, and he didn't say anything. Right? He didn't say anything. So Patach v'amar, he went and he said, Hoy omer la'etz hakitza uri le'even dumam hu yoreh. Hineu tafus zahav v'chesed v'chol ruach b'kilbo. Which means this dayan is like an even va'etz. He's like a piece of wood or a piece of stone that he's shoteke. He has nothing what to teach us. Right? So what? He's going to come to you. So tafus zahav v'chesed, which means he was only just thing because of shochad, of zahav v'chesed. And it's only because he went and he paid the money. That's why he became a judge. Yeah? So he says, and not because of anything else. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu will come and he's going to exact retribution from the ones that are putting this dayanim. Which means he's going to be mechaleh in this avon all of the aretz. Amar Shaki says Shakish, Kol ma'amid dayan al tzibur, anybody that's going to put a dayan al tzibur which is not a gun, kilu notea asherah. It's going to be that he's planting an asherah. Israel. Shneimar says in pasuk, shofatim v'shotinim titen lecha, v'samich le'lemid immediately afterwards it says in praktivim lo titen lecha asherah koletz. Don't put it on asherah. But Rashi says, "Minkom cheish tamidei chachamim, ilu nitao etzel mizbeach." If there's the greater people than him, that means that you got tamidei chachamim greater than him. So it's ki'ilu that they came and they put it by the mizbeach. Shneimar etzel mizbeach Hashem lokecha. Ktiv, it's written in the pasuk, "Lo tatzoniti Eloi chazav v'lo zahav." Don't make of me a god of zahav and kesef. Eloi chazav v'lo zahav u'lo avdi what? You're not allowed to make of zahav and kesef, but you are allowed to make of wood. Rashi says, which means don't come and make the Elokim. You remember the Elokim was the Dayanim. So don't make the Dayanim because of Kesef Zahav that they're giving for the king for it. Meaning not because they're going to come and they're going to pay more money, you're going to start appointing them to become judges. Rav, ki hava ati lebedina, when he used to come to Bedin, Amarachi used to say, Birut nafshe lektala nafik. Birtzon atzmo, he's going to be killed. That means he's going out, mamash, with his own tzon. Utzvi bete letu David, and the tzorchi abayit he didn't do yet. Verekan lebete ayil, and he's going back to his house without anything. Ulvai sheteh bia kitzia, halvai that the coming should be just be like the way that he leaves. This is all referring to himself. I mean, he's basically like this. One more time, what is he saying? He's saying, Kilu, the dayan that's going out to judge, he's going out on his own to be killed. And what happens is he didn't even prepare anything, any provisions for his family because he's being also badin. And he's going back empty-handed because he didn't gain anything. But he says, halvai, right? Halvai, the judge, yeah? So he says, halvai, that he should go back without sin, just like he came in, right, without sin. So, kiava chaze, ambua abatre, right? So it says over here like this. He says, when they used to come and they used to say, when Rav used to see a kvutza coming after him for his kavod, he used to think that maybe he's going to become haughty. So Amari used to say, Im ya'aleh l'shamayim siyo, v'rosho lav yagia kegelo lenetzach yovad. What does that mean? He says that somebody that's going to be even in the highest of the tzlacha, he could completely ruin everything in this world. So where is he? Meaning that he didn't want to make himself become haughty, so he said this pasuk to remind himself, listen, a person could be at the top, and within 2 seconds he could lose everything. Yeah, mamash, he could be at the top of the world, and then that's it. It's gone. Morzutra chasida, kiavu mikatvele b'shabbat deregila. So when he used to come, they used to carry him up to the Bet Midrash on the Shabbat Regel. There used to be Shabbat the Yichot Regel. And he also used to think that he's going to become haughty. Amari used to say, Hachi, ki lo leolam chosen, v'imneze ledor vador. What does that mean? Even if you have chosen ve'osher, don't be somech on your riches. He says, why? It's not for eternity. And even if you have the nezer, which is the crown, it's not going to be for eternity. Tarash bar kapara came and he said, how do we know this thing that the rabbis taught? Havu meturim bedin, that you have to be very, very slow in your judgment. He says, Dichtiv, it says, Al mizbechi v'samach, and it's written immediately afterwards. Ve'elam mishpatim, these are the mishpatim. So Amar Rabbi Elazar says, Rabbi Elazar, minan ledayan shelo v'sar v'shek am kodesh. How do we know that you a person that the dayan should not come, and if they're sitting down on the ground, that he shouldn't come and start going on their heads, basically? Okay, this is again, they used to come and they used to like walk above them, so they shouldn't like mamash like walk on top of them. Shneimar lo te'eleh b'ma'alot, and it says ve'elam mishpatim. Okay, so he says asher tasim lifneim. What is asher tasim? Asher telamedem mi'ba'eleh. It's not what you're going to place in front of them. It's what you should teach them. Amar Rabbi Yirmiyah, says Rabbi Yirmiyah, and some people say, so Rabbi Yechia bar Abba, elu kelei hadayanim. These are the kelei hadayanim. We're talking about the makal u'rtzuah, which means we have the makel, which is the staff, right? I've got the baton there in my drawer if anybody wants, or the ritzuah, right? The ritzuah is the flogs, right? That they use it in order to be paskening the din. So therefore, that's the sima, which is something which is going to be mitaltel. So Ravuna Kiyav Nafek Ledina Manachi used to say, "Apikuli mane chanutai makal u'rtzuah v'shofara v'sandala." Come and take out my things. What do I need? You have the makel and the ritzuah for the malkut. Lashes was given with the makel and ritzuah. Okay, he says the ritzuah was malkut of Torah, right? And he says the makel was makat mardut, right? Which is basically the rabbanan, right? That means basically very interesting. That means the how do you call this? The strap was for the malkut mina Torah, but the other one, which was the makel, so the police baton, that was for the malkut rabbanan. Okay, so he says take that out. The shofara. What is the shofar? In order to put somebody in cherem. The sandala and the sandal for chalitza. Meaning again, all these things were the kelim of the dayanim. So you used to tell them, take it out. V'atzavet shofetichem ba'etai. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, says Rabbi Yochanan, kedegem makel u'rtzuah shtei zariz, which means the lashon tzava'ah. When it says v'atzaveh, is the lashon ziruz. You have to do it quickly. So what is it? It's talking about the shimush b'makel u'rtzuah, which means that they have to actually put ema on the tzibur, l'shem shamayim. Right? The Rabbi Yosef used to say this. He used to say zerok mara betalmidim. Why? Because many times, right, it would happen that if the talmid does not have the proper respect for the rabbi, he can't learn, right? And therefore, many times it used to be zerok mara betalmidim. You have to actually give it to them, right? Why? So they have to have the ema, right, the fear. Okay. So he says shamua ben achechem ushvatem tzedek. Amar bi Hanina, says bi Hanina, azara lebedin shelo yishma divrei baldin kol shevo baldin chavero. There's an azara. There's a warning. The bedin cannot hear their words of one without the other person that's going to be there before. Same thing that there's only in the dayanim, but even if it's going to be through somebody else. Which means you have to hear when they're both together. Meaning when you have both litigants together in the court, that's when you come and you start listening to both of them. Rav Kahana comes and he says, no, it's another pasuk. Why? When it says lotisa shemashav, it means shemashav is that you're listening to one before the other, because that is shmiyav shav v'sheker. Why? Because at the end of the day, he's not afraid. The other guy's not there. Many times, if the other guy's there, you could already tell by the facial expressions, or you could tell by something that the guy's lying straight to. The other guy's not there. You can say whatever you want. So lo tisa shemashav, lo tasi shemashav. Do not cause that he's going to be shemashav. Ushvatem tzedek amar Shakish, tzadeket adin. Make it tzedek in your heart. And then afterwards, you're going to come and you're going to do it. Which means, how are you going to posek et adin? Only after you made a achlata with the tzedek is with who, and then you're going to cut it. So this one is chayav, and this one is to be zakai. Ben ishu ben achiv, amar Rabbi Yehuda, afilu ben bayit la'aliyah. Right? Even if it fell a house in Yerusha to two brothers, right? And they come in front of them. Right? So he comes and he says, and he's going to say that you're going to take the bottom one, the other brother is going to take the top one, right? The exact same thing. Okay? So he says, Uven Gero. What does it mean now, Uven Gero? I'm going to view afilu ben talun lekiraim. Even if it's going to be the Yerusha between two brothers, that this one's taking a tanur, this one's taking a kiraim. Right? So therefore, again, all these chalukot, you also have to do it, right? Because Gero here does not mean a ger, it means migurim, like migure dira. Okay? Yeah? So he says, Lo takiru panim mishpat. Rabbi Yehuda omer lo takireu. Do not make him known. Rabbi Elazar omer lo tenakereu. Do not make him like an ochri. Right? Lo takireu means don't come and show him that you love him. And lo tenakereu means don't make him that you're like you hate him. Ushpezincha deravata lekamed lidina. Balach sanya of Rav came in front of Dina. Amalo, he says, he says, I don't understand you. I'm not your oreach. Amalo, he says, Amalo, he says, Dina itli, I've got a din. Amalo, he comes and he said, Pasilna lecha ledina. I'm pasul to be your judge. Okay?